Hello, hello, hello. I hope you all are doing well today on Sunday. So if you're watching this on replay or if you're joining me live, thank you for joining. I really appreciate it. Today we're going to continue down that fabric printing, jelly printing, if you will. So a couple of things I just wanted to remind everybody what we're doing. So just a minute as I change my screen here for a minute. So as everybody remembers, last time, 2 weeks ago, we we're creating jelly printing fabrics for this quilt here that I'm going to start quilting pretty soon. I'm going to start cutting up the fabrics, and I'm going to just have regular videos as I go through the process of cutting up the fabrics and then sewing it together, and then we'll reveal the quilt live once it's completed. So stay tuned for that, but this will be the last live video on printing jelly prints for this particular quilt. I may have some other ones coming up. I'm also planning to have some other live videos as I start new projects. They won't be jelly printing necessarily, but how we use our jelly prints, because we're getting a collection of jelly prints, and what are we going to do with all of them? We're just gonna, so I'm gonna have some live videos on doing some new projects for the fall with the jelly prints. So make sure you subscribe to my channel, hit that like button, so you'll be notified when those videos will go live. And let's get to it. So let's see here. I'm still getting new to this, so just 1 second. I did want to point out another item that we talked about the last time. So if everybody remembers, this print over here, I left it on the plate. And so I kind of wanted to show you what happened when I created new jelly prints, for this particular item. So this is from my last live from 2 weeks ago, and so I'm going to go camera down so I can show you what that print, how that print turned out. So just 1 second. This is how that print turned out, and so I was very pleased with the results of this. So definitely check out that video. In fact, I think I had it upside down. Sorry about that. Yep, there you go. Okay, just wanted to make sure I had that the right way. But I really like the colors. So this is going to look really neat on the quilt. So now, and a couple other things that I wanted to remind everybody is that I made my own stencils for this quilt. And the way I made those stencils was using some stencil material that I got from Hobby Lobby. Whoop, there you go. And it's called Show Offs, and they're 12 by 18. And so I'll show you the stencils that I made today. And this is the actual stencil material, and just so that everybody knows, it does come with a little plastic on the back that after you cut out your stencil off your Cricut or your Silhouette machine, make sure you take that plastic off. Okay, so that's this item. Now, one of the fabrics that I did on yellow was these ravens and these black cats. So I printed these. Now black is pretty strong color, but that's okay. It's just only going to be a 2.5 inch strip when you cut this down, so it's not going to be that crazy. But I also did these witches, and so those were a lot of fun. So these are how those witches turned out. And I did one more. And there was something that I really wanted to show you about these witches. when I used the stencil material for these witches, I noticed that I did not get into all the little bitty nooks and crannies when I was doing the witches stencil the traditional way. So another real quick tip that I wanted to show you about your Gelli plate and the stencil material is that if you get something like this when you're doing your printing, you can always go back with the stencil as soon as I find it here. Oh, I got it backwards. And you can line it up where the witches are supposed to be. The thing is, what will hold your place is the stencil material will hold to the Gelli plate. You see where it turned a different color right here? So this is kind of like a tape, if you will, to hold your stencil in place. And a couple of things that I do for this particular item is I will use these little stubby brushes, and I will pounce the paint into here, and then I'll move the stencil down. So I wanted to show that today. That was a technique that I tried, and it worked a lot better in creating some of my images, besides using the stencils in a regular way. So let's go ahead and start that process. So just one second. I'm just looking for my paint. Sorry, you're hearing me digging through my paint. The black is always on the bottom. Well, just one second. Oh, there it is. Okay, so as everybody knows, I am in love with Winsor Newton paints, and I am creating that video, so it will be posted in the next couple weeks. But I am loving the Winsor Newton paints. So I'm gonna go ahead and put some on this smaller plate here. Now, when we do the pouncing method, it does take quite a bit of paint, and we are working with fabric, so you do still want to use the GAC 900 for this, because we're still using it on fabric. So we're just going to pour some in here. Oop. And then for this particular method, I am just going to use my scrubby brush to mix up all this liquid here. And then I'm just going to pounce these witches so that way it looks more like this. And again, my stencil is being held in place by the gel plate. You have to be a little bit careful. I did go over just a little bit, so you have to be careful about how big of a brush you use, because it will go onto your particular fabric there. And if you find that you have a place that you need a smaller stubby, I call it a stubby brush because it's just real stiff. It's not like a regular paintbrush. Stippling brush is really what it's called. I'm just going to make sure I get those areas really good, and then I'm going to move my my stencil down. Just pull it up lightly, and then I'm going to move my fabric place my stencil back down. I'm just going to line it up. As you can see, the two witches are kind of going at a diagonal. So I'm going to keep that pattern, and I'm just going to place the stencil at more of a diagonal for the witch in the middle. And I'm just going to line her up with the bottom of her feet. And I'm just going to eyeball it. For those of you who are really particular about making sure your stencil's straight, you could look at a ruler to help you with that, but I'm just winging it. And then I'm just going to push my stencil down so that it's being held by the jelly plate, and then I'm going to go in for some more paint. And then get her little hat. And there you go. I've now printed this particular piece of fabric, which is the yellow in our quilt that's coming up. And then I'll just lay this to dry. Okay, so I just wanted to go over those items real quick, and then the other thing I wanted to talk about that I'll be using here in a minute. Just one second. Are these particular little tools. So most people know these tools by shaping flowers or other items to give it dimension, but I found another use for these tools, and this particular tool is the Sizzix Tim Holtz tools. These two are, but they're just embossing. They're just embossing tools. And here's an old one that I had from way back when, but I like the fact that there's different sizes of these ends on here. Okay. And then another one that I have that I may use to get the corner edges in my stencil that you'll see me use is this old-fashioned clay modeling tool. Love this tool. This is one of my other favorite tools. Yes, I could roll the paint on with a brayer, but you'll see what I'm talking about in just a second when I'm going to roll the paint here on the brayer. And then I'll use the stencil. But for those witches, they were not getting into the corners very deeply. And so that's why I went back with a stippling brush to really get that crisp edge is what I was looking for. So that's why I did that technique. Now, some of the other things I thought we would try, and I created this bat stencil here. So this is a lot of little bitty edges, and so this is where these embossing rollers may come into handy, is when after you roll the paint on, then pressing here to get that paint. but the brayer itself will just roll over the top of it. So you can use your fingers, or you can use some of the embossing tools that I've mentioned. So for the bats, I thought it would be fun to go over the bats, and I prepared some yellow fabrics, and I thought it would be fun to do it like an orange bat on this fabric. So more of a in the same color family, warm colors. So let's go ahead. And then I wanted the orange to be just slightly darker, so I'm going to add some red to it. Not much. Red is a very strong color, and it will really tint that orange. So you want to always use a little bit of the darker color when you're using a lighter color, if you're trying to go for just a slightly darker, like in this case, a slightly darker orange. Now we are going to get some other prints, because as you can see, I've been jelly printing and there is some green here. And so we'll see what we get. It'll be interesting. So I'm going to lay these bats down. Now we're not going to get all the bats, the entire fabric, but that's okay. And then you just start pressing in to the fabric. And then you could use your little stylus just to make sure you get those bat wings really well. To get a good impression. So when you have a very small print like this and you have some edges, you want to get as much of a good impression as you can. Otherwise, they just might be giant blobs. So we'll find out how this goes. Also, too, you're going to end up with another print that you can take based on what is left that was trapped underneath the stencil. So it will be definitely interesting to see what that second print's going to look like. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this sit for a minute, because I want to go over here for a minute and show you something and pull another print that I would think that you would find interesting. And something that I just found just by experimenting. I'm going to take just plain old water out of my Distress bottle, and I'm just going to spray it onto this. And what's going to happen is that the paint is going to separate. And so I'm not spraying a lot. I'm just spraying a few drips. I'm just doing this while I'm working on this other thing. And then I'm going to take a piece of paper because what happens is that the paint tends to wick just a little bit. We'll see if this works. And if not, I'll show you how it worked on a piece of fabric. So I'm just going to lay that there and let that cook for a minute, as I call it. See, I didn't get any of these right here. So I don't know if I have any bats on this side. It's okay if you don't have a full bat panel, so to speak, because that's part of the grunginess of this fabric printing, is that you don't have to have perfect prints, if you will. Hi, Leanna, how are you? Hi, Joan, how are you? I hope y'all are doing well. Thank you for joining. All right, so this one's cooking over here, and then I'm just rubbing my fingers into these little bat areas so that we can create some orange bats onto this yellow fabric. And I'm using my embosser or stylus to create the image, making sure we get all the paint in there. And as you can see, I pretty much, there might be some missing over here. So let's see, you guys ready to see this? Okay, rub this one real quick. It's still cooking. Not literally cooking, but you get my point. All right. Oh, it turned out pretty decent. So we have some paint. I told you I'd get some paint off of the plate. So that's pretty cool. And then this is a little orange strip that we can definitely cut and use for something else. So I have some orange bats. Now, when I pull up this particular stencil, we're going to have another, I'm going to put another color on top of here. And so then we'll have an orange background with some black bats, but it definitely will not be solid. It will definitely be, it'll be interesting to see what we get. So I'm just letting that dry for a little bit, and then we'll add some color on there. And then let's pull this up, because remember, I just sprayed that water on there. It should leave back some paint, which will make for another interesting print. So, well, it didn't quite turn out the way I'd hoped, but that's okay. You can see the water droplets on this, and that's kind of what we were going for. But let me show you something else real quick and how it looked on fabric when I did it. So the same effect on fabric, pulled up some layers of paint and left back a couple of layers of paint onto the plate, kind of like this. And then it showed through to the bottom layer. And so it really has a different effect when you do this on fabric or sometimes on the plate. It really depends on how much paint and how long the paint has been sitting there drying. Okay, so let's do, I'm going to take a black on top of this because I do need some black fabric for my prints. So just 1 second here. We're just about out of this black paint. All right. Now what's going to happen is the black is going to go into the spaces where the orange was not present. And so if this is done correctly, and it may look a little grungy, and that's the whole point, you should have black bats. There we go. I'm taking a piece of tissue on top, so that way paints won't get on the bottoms of my hands. And then by using the tissue paper, we're able to rub the paint really well. I also like using the tissue paper because you can use it in collaging. And so you're kind of getting a 2-for-1 with fabric printing and pulling up any excess paint with a piece of tissue paper. Now, another thing you could do is take a glass Baron, and you could rub the back of your print, and this just helps for those that have maybe arthritis, and rubbing the back of the print with their hand, the pressure maybe hurts their hands. You can use a glass Baron, which is a heavier weight, and just rub it that way as well. So there's different techniques and tools you can use. Now, before I pull this up, I'm just going to let this sit for a minute. Does anybody have any questions so far? It's tissue paper, but you can also use parchment paper. You can also use deli paper. So any of that will work. You can use old copy paper. Sometimes I use my son's school papers to pull up paint with, like I just did with that parchment paper. So you can use any kind of paper to do that same technique. Okay, let's see what we got here. Well, it didn't really turn out right, but that's okay. That is okay. The black kind of took over, and that orange just really didn't pop, but that's okay. It's kind of like a hidden bat, if you will. So it's dark. I'm going to use it. I need some blacks in my quilt, and so this will be a nice little addition. But what's even a lot more fun is this is a ghost print that's on my plate. So when we do the next pull, that's going to be interesting. So for the next one, I thought what we would do is some spiders. I created this particular stencil, and so I thought it would be a lot of fun to do the spider print here. So I'm going to put down, I'm going to still use a yellow because I need the yellow in my prints. And I thought I would do a, maybe a magenta. That's the rose. Let's try the magenta. Still looking for that. Hold on. When your paints are in a bucket, you just gotta dig for them. There it is. So I thought we'd use this magenta. And we're going to pull up some orange and black off that print. So it'll be interesting how that turns out. And I think I'm going to add a little bit of this lighter hot, it looks like a hot pink, but it's not going to, it's just going to tint it slightly because this darker magenta is going to overpower that light pink or hot pink, whatever you want to call it. Okay. Now this is going to go on the yellow fabric. And so yellow and purple are complementary colors. And so this magenta should look pretty nicely on that, that particular print. So here's our spiders. And Miss Leanna, I believe you're not a big fan of spiders, so sorry. I didn't realize you were going to be joining us today. But I'll just cover them up for you. How's that? So I'm just rubbing the fabric. I can also take this glass Bear, and if I wanted to, I could take a Brayer, but the fingertips is really where all the magic happens. Now, when you're printing on fabric, you could press really hard in some areas and leave some other areas lighter. That will give a nice gradient and grungy look to your prints as well. So I'm not going to let this one cook as long. And we're not going to have a perfect print. So let's see what we get. So there's that stencil. It looks, let me bring it up a little bit. So with the magenta, it kind of gives it a little bit of an orange hue against that yellow. So that's kind of cool. Now we have these spiders. So I'm going to take, it's still a little bit of wet. I'm going to take, I'm going to spray just a little bit of water just to keep it a little bit moist. And I am going to transfer those spiders and see what we get on this particular black one. But I kind of like that. So maybe not that black one. Let's try this other black one. Yeah, we'll try this black one. Yeah, I liked it too. That's what I liked it also. So I thought, well, maybe we won't do that one. So let's transfer any spiders we have left. Now this one we're going to have to rub pretty good at, only because we may not get a big transfer, kind of like that last print that I showed you at the beginning of the video, where we had some residue left on the plate. That's okay. I think that's what makes the fabrics really interesting. Well, this was interesting. You're not going to see the spiders because obviously it's a darker color on top of a darker color, but it gave the black a different tone to it. So you can really, and you can see the spiders on there. So it'll be interesting once I throw these into the dryer to see how that color really pops. And after these dry a little bit, we may go back with some dots on here and see how that appears. So stay tuned. That one might come back. Okay, I have another yellow. It's got some orange in it, and I thought it would be interesting to see if we can put another layer of some kind of, maybe the dots. We'll do like a darker orange to do some of the dots, but when I print this time, I'm only going to put some dots here or dots there. So, let's see what happens. And for this one, I am just going to do more of a, hold on, like a tone on tone color. So I'm going to put more yellow and then a little bit of orange just to give it more of a tone on tone color. Also, we may pull up some pink spiders or magenta spiders, so we'll see what we get. The thing about jelly printing on fabrics is creating layers on your plate, but you don't want to have a lot of paint on your fabric because it will become more stiff. I do have some fabrics that have too much paint on them, and they're rather stiff, but I'm fine with it. We're driving on. So this is the Punchinella looking stencil that I created, and I'm going to take some of this fabric that has different prints on it, and I'm just going to go in and put a little bit of dots here. See, like that. I'm going to do some dots over here. Just to give it a little bit more interest. You don't have to have a whole, you do not have to have a whole image of dots, if you will. So. And then I have this pink and orange fabric that I think I'm going to add some dots to. Okay. And maybe some right there. There we go. I'm good with that. And I also have some of, I have like a white and pink. I'm going to add some orange to it. And they're going to be more lighter in color as the paint starts to dry. In some cases, I guess. some of those corners or edges. There we go. So we'll come back to that one. And then I have some purple. So I'm going to see what I can pick up on all this. See whatever paint is left. If I can get anything on here. So we got some. Okay. So we're just adding texture to our fabrics. Now, I have a whole thing of punchinella dots. So while that's drying a little bit, because we'll do a ghost print on that. I don't know what we'll do yet. I'll probably go with a lighter color. Probably a yellow. Or maybe a red. Might even go white. I do need some white type fabrics with some color in it. So I might do a white. Now, when you are printing fabrics, you do need to clean off your brayer, and I've talked about this before. You get a bunch of junk right there, and eventually your brayer is not going to roll that well. So I just take a brush and I just wipe it off on the edge. And then this is why I have this other plate here. I have this other plate here to act like a roll-off sheet when you roll off your brayer, because what ends up happening is a unique print. And I'm not caring about what colors are on here. It could be mud. I don't care. Let's see. Do I have any orange? Oh, I do have some orange on here. Okay. Give that a little fan wave. Does anybody have any questions why we are waiting for this to dry just a little bit? All right, let's go in with the white. It will not pull up all the paint, but whatever's left over will be great for the next print. All right, let's see what we have. I don't know if I let it cook long enough. We'll find out. Do a peeky peek. Well, it is interesting. but it didn't take it off. I didn't let it sit on the plate long enough. So I can always do this. I can always put it back down. Let it sit. I'll just let that sit. Clean off my brayer. There's a gel plate that they make now that's a 16 by 20. Oh, I'm wanting that for Christmas. I think I'm going to ask Santa for that 16 by 20 gel plate. That is going to be fun to do fabric printing on. Alright, let's do another sneaky peek. We got some, it's going to be an interesting fabric. I like it. However, the next print's going to be awesome. I think that'll work. I don't know if I can pull anything up with this, with the ghost print. So we'll see. Might be too dry. No, it's not pulling up. So we'll just pull it off. Yeah, nothing pulled up. Okay. So that just means we need to apply more paint. So let's, I think I'm going to do a yellow and see what I can pull up. And I think I'll go with the pumpkins. See what happens. Do I have a lighter orange? Probably not. Do I have a light fabric? Okay. Put this pumpkin down. Make sure we're in that spot. And then I'm going to, remember this one? I told you to make another appearance? Well, here we go. Oh, interesting. Oh, this is kind of cool. Oh, look what we got there. Love it. That is really cool. Okay. And look what we got right here. That's going to be awesome. We'll see how we're going to pull that up. Anybody got any ideas what color I should use to pull this up with? Remember, we are, and I'll show you the colors that we're working with here. Just one second. We are working with these are the colors that we're working with. So we're looking at the oranges, the magentas, the grays, the blacks, some whites, a little bit of teal. So let me know what you think in the comments below, what color I should apply to pull this ghost image up, because it's going to have this yellow with it. Anybody have any ideas? Part of me wants to say orange. I'm thinking purple would be cool. Not for sure how that's going to turn out. I do have purple fabric we do need to print on. I have orange fabric we need to print on. So, any preference? If not, I might just play it safe. I might just do like a purple and see what happens. Okay, I'll go with purple. Thanks, Tron Volta. We'll see what happens there. Okay. We could probably, well, purple enough is dark by itself. Purple, okay. Let's see what happens. It'd be like a box of chocolates. Might try that water technique again. So we'll see what happens. We'll have some dots. If it turns out, we'll have some dots and we'll have some pumpkins. We'll see how that goes. And I think I'm going to print on one of my previous purple fabrics. Oh, I forgot the water technique. I didn't push it down yet. Let's blast it. Now this one's definitely going, well, while this one is drying. Oh, I'm not going to pull that up. I just saw that picture. We'll see how this goes. Well, that's dry, and we'll play with this plate over here that I've been ignoring. This is not going to pull up much because I didn't put any paint on it. So most of this paint is dry. I just wanted to see what paint would come up with that water on it. I'm not expecting much. Yep, I didn't expect much. Oh, some paint did come off. That's going to be cool. So some paint where the water was did come off. So what's going to happen is when we go in and put another paint coat on here, the paint will show through to the bottom of the gel plate. So that will be what's on top. I'm going to play with this blue, because the Phthalo blue is one of my new favorite colors. I'm not going to put any GAC 900 on this, because all I'm doing is printing on paper. And I'm just using the blue as the activator to pull the rest of that paint up. So we'll see what we get. Okay, you ready for this big reveal? We'll see what happens here. We got some of the yellow onto this purple. And we got some of the orange too. So, in that case, I think what we're going to do is put another coat of paint on here. I'm going to go back with white, and we're going to let it sit a little longer. And I'm going to go with a clean piece of fabric. I really like these leftover prints because you never know what you're going to get. That's a lot of white sherry. Now, to clean my brayer here, I'm going to have a little bit of blue, which is fine. I don't really care. Okay. I didn't clean my brayer, so that's why you have a little blue in here, and I'm totally fine with that. Let's let that sit. That one's going to be a minute. This one's going to be cool. This one totally cleaned off the plate. Another reason why I love Winsor Newton paints. Check out that print. That is just layers and layers of paint on the plate, because I'm using this as a roll-off. And then I put that phthalo blue as the last coat in it, and see it's popping through. And then, so the way Gelli printing works is the first layer should be your top layer. And this one has a lot of paint left on it. So I'm going to clean this off. Yeah, I do too, Tron. I really like that phthalo blue. It's quickly becoming one of my favorites, along with the deep turquoise. And this one just had paint everywhere. All right, really like that. That was a surprise. Okay. This one's still wet. Needs to dry a little bit more. We also have this Spiderweb stencil that we're going to use again. So in 1 second, as soon as I pull this up, I think we're going to do a spider web on purple. See how it goes. Or magenta. We'll see. Or orange. I have orange too. I want to pull this up, but I just don't know if it'll be ready. Huh, it's not ready. But it's going to be cool. Okay, you just sit there. Is there, while we're kind of waiting for this one, are there any questions that anybody may have? So, let's see here. I'm going to see if... So while that one is drying a little bit, I just wanted to go over real quick what I'm doing today. For those of you who just joined us a little bit late, I just wanted to show you why I'm printing Halloween fabrics. I'm trying to create my first quilt, and so I thought this would be a really neat quilt to make, and so that's why we're printing Halloween fabrics, because it's going to take, being a first-time quilter, it's going to take me a while to create this quilt. And I'm going to have videos on this, creating this quilt, as I cut the fabric and that kind of thing. So those will be just regular videos. They won't be lives, because I don't want to sew live yet. So it will be interesting to see how this turns out. But I have some really good mentors. So I'm ready to pull this particular fabric. It's still really wet, so we'll see what we get. So I'm going to go back camera down. Oh yeah. This will be one of those after the stream. You know, it's kind of like after the live, after the stream. But this turned out really cool. I love all the colors in it. It's got that blue tint in it, and the purples and the orange and the yellow. But it's really, I really like these colors. I think that'll be a great addition. But I have some fun things coming up behind it. Okay. This is going to require some drying time. It's got a lot of paint on it. Okay, let's see if I can pull up anything. Pulling some things up. I spritzed it with a little water. Let that dry just a little bit. Anything over here? Nope. Dry as can be. Well, okay, what else we got here? We got some, so while that's drying, let's go over the fabrics that we've done so far. So, remember on this one, we pretty much stamped the image in. We stippled the image in for this one, for the witches. We pulled this purple print. I'm really liking this yellow print. We did this orange and white print. This is a print I did last week. We did this here is a piece of fabric that we showed that you don't have to use the whole image to get texture onto your fabrics. We have these orange bats. This one here is pink and orange, and I went back with some orange dots to give it some subtle texture. This was one of the fabrics that I prepared for this live, but the more I look at, the more I just want to leave it alone. I like it just the way it is. We also have the spiders. And can't really see it, but you have black bats in here with some orange. And then this one we have as well. And so those are all the fabrics that we printed so far today. And I'm going to pull this particular fabric up and see what we have. Now, we got some color onto our fabric, so that's not bad. But I still think we can enhance this. So, I'm not going to worry about this background anymore. We're driving on. So the first thing I'm going to do is, I think we're going to do a spider web. So let's go ahead, and I want to go with a tone on tone again. So I think I'm going to go with this dark purple onto a magenta looking fabric. And we're going to use the Spiderweb Stencil as a mask. We may pull up some of this white and purple and blue and yellow and orange that we have all over the plate, and that's fine. Okay. All right, here we go. This is another stencil. Now you can buy a stencil similar to this. I just made one. And I think I want to go this way with it. I'm going to go with this magenta. And I'm going to just start rubbing inside. I got purple in my hand, so here we go. Just going to rub on the inside. Really push the fabric down into the grooves. You got a lot of grooves here, so if you want a good image, you kind of need to use your fingertips to kind of rub into the grooves. I didn't get any spider web over here. I can feel it. It's not grabbing, but that's okay. It does not have to be total spider web. Got some. It just didn't have a lot of paint. Okay, here we go. And so now you have a magenta spider web. And it pulled up some paint from the plate because you got some orange and yellow. Now what you have on this side is a spider web. Oh, there's definitely some paint here. We're going to pull and see what this comes up to be. Oh, look at this ghost print. Check that out. We got some orange and yellow in there. I'm going to try to get this top ghost print here. Look at that. So, with that being said, I have this blue with a little bit of purple. No, I don't think so. I think I'm going to go back to this one here. See what I can pull up. Oh, this turned out cool. Check that out. That's cool. It's kind of like that's where the other piece of fabric was laying down, and so it picked up this piece and this over here. That's awesome. All I'm doing is seeing if I can get any ghost printing on any of these fabrics, just to see what it looks like. Nope. I think we're done with that one ghost print. That was awesome, though. Okay. I have this one here. Really want to go back to this one. I just want to, it needs something. So we'll see. I think I'm going to do I think I'm going to just go right on white and see what happens. Got a little bit of purple. All right. I just won't leave that black one alone. I just can't help it. Let's see if we can get a spider web out of it. There we go. We got some. I want to put a little bit of spider web there. I think I like that. Maybe some on the edge. Here we go. Okay. And then I think what we'll do is we'll take this dark orange, this really dark orange, and see what we get. It's going to be white with some purple, so we'll see. So maybe we'll have like an orange spider web. And this will be our last pull. So I just want to let you know I'm going to have some videos coming out here shortly. I'm going to have some quilting videos of this pumpkin quilt so you can kind of see how everything turned out. And then I'm going to start having, what are we going to do with our jelly prints? A series of lives on what are we going to do with our jelly prints. And we're going to start that for the fall. So expect some more pumpkins. So let's see what we got here. Well, it's got some purple in here. So that's going to turn out really nice. Okay. All right, now this last pull is going to take some time to dry, so I am going to put some color down for this last one, and then I'll go camera up, and I'll talk about a few things that we have coming up. So if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, we're really working on trying to get to 200 subscribers, and I appreciate each and every person who has subscribed to my channel. It has been a lot of fun. I really enjoy making art and sharing what I love to do with people. So please hit that that subscribe button to be notified when my next lives, or when you have a video, when I have a video that's going to come out, because we got a lot of interesting things coming up this holiday season. I am just really excited with the new things that I have. So please feel free to subscribe, and let me just lay this one thing down. I'm going to put some blue in here, and I'll go live here in just, go camera up in just a minute. I just want to do one more pull. It's going to be like, it's going to take some time to dry. So just 1 second. Put that blue over there. Just 1 second here. Just want to get this rubbed in really well. Okay, so for those of you who joined late, this is the quilt that I am trying to make for my first time that I've kept talking about, and I'm pretty excited about cutting the strips and putting them together and see how this turns out. I have a couple videos that are coming up, and I'm starting another series of what do we do with those jelly prints, because we all have a bunch of jelly prints, and if you've been jelly printing with me, this is the time to do that so that you can have somebody to jelly print with. you're building up a lot of prints. What are you going to do with them? So I am going to start with fall, and I'm starting with a pumpkin, and I'm going to do some collaging, 3 different ways of how to use the jelly prints with the pumpkin. One's going to be a traditional claws. The other one's going to have some doodling with it. I think it will be a lot of fun. And another one will be with skins, some paint skins. So it's not quite jelly printing, but it has to do with paint, and I think it'd be a lot of fun to do with paint skins. So we'll see how that turns out as well. So those will definitely be different lives as we create like this triplet 3-panel, let me just say that, 3-panel pumpkin. So it'll have 3 different pumpkins that'll look 3 different ways. So for those of you who are catching this on replay, thank you so much. Don't forget to subscribe and give me a thumbs up. And those of you who joined me, thank you for joining me. You made it easy to do these lives by having an audience, and I really appreciate that. And y'all have a great day. If you have any comments, leave them below. I'll be glad to answer them. And we're trying to get to 200. So don't forget to share out my videos and subscribe. Have a great day. Talk to you next time. Thank you for watching Ratchet Up Your Art.